All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Spring Equinox concert. Unfortunately, not at Bradley Observatory because of the strange world we find ourselves in this year. But we are together nonetheless in the virtual world that we've all been inhabiting since last spring. I hope that you will come visit us at the observatory. We hope that all of our programs will start normally and in person in the fall. Starting with the September Equinox concert that Jason and I will have to plan at some point. But here we are in March. We are just a little bit past the spring equinox. And just a brief word about the spring equinox. There are on the sky two, let me share this. I think I can actually share something with you very quickly. On the sky, there are kind of two great circles. One of them is called the ecliptic, which is this red circle here. And that's the path that the sun takes across the sky. And the other, which is indicated by the 0 degrees here, is called the celestial equator. And you'll notice that those two lines, or those two great circles on the sky, cross, and they cross right here. And today is the 26th, but if we go back in time to the 25th, 24th, 23rd, 22nd, 21st, then we'll actually get to the day and the moment when the sun was actually right at that place where they cross. And that's what we call the vernal equinox. The spring equinox is the place in the sky where the sun, in its annual motion through the stars, crosses this little special circle, which is the Earth's equator, projected out into the night sky. And so it crosses it once in the spring. As it's moving further and further to the north, you can see the direction the sun is headed, right, to that high position above the horizon that we get in the summertime. And then in the fall, we have the, we can move this forward just a little bit. All right, if you look here in the fall, look at where the ecliptic crosses the celestial equator again, and that's going to be on September 21st. And so what we've decided to do with the Department of Music is to commemorate and celebrate this special twice-a-year event, the spring equinox and the fall equinox, when the day and night have equal length. And we've also named this concert in honor of a great astronomer named Bill Calder. And he was astronomer here at Agnes for some 25 years. And he was a Harvard-educated astronomer who came down to Georgia and oversaw the construction of the observatory, which is one of the most beautiful buildings on campus. I know I'm biased. Okay, so let me go ahead and get the evening started. We're going to have a concert tonight, which Jason is about to tell you about, and I'm delighted that the musicians are here with us. And Jason is a professor of music here at Agnes Scott. He and I have collaborated for years, organizing these concerts, and it's been a delight. Jason, whoops, sorry, my computer just did something funny. You all are still there, right? Well, before my computer decides to do something crazy, I'm going to hand this over to my beloved colleague, Jason Solomon, and let him introduce our musicians for tonight. So thanks a lot, Jason.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And welcome to everyone in our virtual audience this evening. We can't see your faces, but we know you're there, and we really appreciate you joining us this evening. You are definitely in for a musical treat. As Chris was saying, this Equinox concert has really become a fun tradition, and it's just an exciting interdepartmental collaboration between the physics department and music. And while we can all be thankful for the technology that is allowing us to continue presenting these concerts, we do look forward to returning to the planetarium. There's nothing like that space and that intimate venue. So like Chris, I hope that's where we will all be for the next concert in the fall. Before I introduce our performers, I'd like to thank Leah Owenby and Mackenzie Mitchell for providing technical assistance. And we do have a program for tonight's concert, which I will share a link to in the chat now. So that if you click on that, you should be able to access the PDF file of tonight's program. And the program was designed by our very own Leah Owenby. It's very beautiful. I'm kind of glad that we're sharing it virtually because it probably would have been very expensive to print, so many colors, but it is lovely. So thank you for that, Leah. Our performers this evening are cellist Carlos Audi and pianist Adam Booher. You can find their bios and read more about them in the program that I just shared. Carlos and Adam have recorded videos for tonight's concert, and they're here with us live to introduce each selection on the program. And they've really prepared a wonderful program with lots of nice variety mixed in, some beautiful, beautiful pieces. And we are also fortunate that one of the composers featured on the program, Alan Molyneux, is with us as well, and we'll hear from him before hearing his music. So thank you all again for tuning in, and without further ado, I will hand it over to Carlos and Adam.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Chris. We're very excited to share this music with you. And Carlos and I, we've been playing together for about 3 years or so. And with this program, we decided to choose pieces all from the 20th century. And actually, 3 of the pieces that we will hear, the first 3 were all composed within 3 years of each other. So we'll notice some similarities between them. But first up, we have a piece called Pompeiana No. 2, a rhapsody for cello and piano. And this is by the Argentinian composer Alberto Ginastera. Now, the title of this piece, Pompeiana, it comes from the word pampa, which is a word for the Andean flatlands, or their prairie lands that they had in Argentina. And the composer Ginastera, he wrote something very descriptive about the pampa and the inspiration that was involved with this piece. And he said, "Whenever I've crossed the pampa or have lived in it for a time, my spirit felt itself inundated by changing impressions, now joyful, now melancholy, some full of euphoria, and others replete with a profound tranquility, produced by its limitless immensity and by the transformation that the countryside undergoes in the course of the day." And so this quote, I feel like, captures sort of the essence of this piece. And you'll hear this very almost primal rhythmic drive and vitality in the music. And it's very picturesque in the colors that it paints, and this sort of transformation of the weather throughout the day. And another influence in this piece, it's been noted that there could be some influence from gaucho singing, which the gauchos are the sort of folk heroes, cowboys of Argentina. And so it has a lot of folk influence, which is fun, and another theme that we'll see in some of the other pieces. So first off, we will listen to this Ginastera's Pompeiana No. 2. Okay, well, thank you. So that was Hina Serra's Pompeiana number 2. That piece was written in 1950, and the next selection on tonight's program was composed 1 year earlier in 1949. We're going to hear the first 2 movements of Sergei Prokofiev's sonata in C major, opus 119. And the 1940s were a very difficult time for composers in the Soviet Union. There was a lot of censorship going on, and even Prokofiev himself experienced some censorship with some of his works, or where he had to change certain sections. And it's been noted that it's interesting, this particular work was not censored because the form of it does tend to follow some very Western forms. And one of the things that the government would accuse composers of would be formalism, or following some of the Western forms too closely, rather than more promoting the native Eastern traditions. But the first movement of this work that we'll hear is in a sonata allegro form, which is our just standard Western classical first movement of a sonata form. And the second movement is a scherzo. One thing that's very interesting in this music, though, is even though the form of it is rather traditional and Western in nature, the idiom does have a good bit of influence from, this sort of Russian sound to it, where we have very rich melodies in the bass that the cello will have. And also there's some pizzicato and elements, particularly in the scherzo, that sound very folk-like, which to me kind of link with the Hinastera and then what we'll hear in the Poulenc, which one little factoid that I found interesting was Prokofiev and Poulenc actually lived in Paris at the same time, and they often played cards together. Played bridge, and so that perhaps is another connection, even rather trivial, but a connection between some of the pieces on this program. So we will hear now movements 1 and 2 of Prokofiev's Sonata in C major.
All right. So the next piece we're gonna hear is the sonata for piano and cello by the French composer Francis Poulenc. Poulenc was born in 1899 and died in 1963. And he fought actually during the World War I. And his main instrument was the piano. Now, the sonata for piano and cello, he started around 1940, and he didn't finish until 1948. He didn't have much experience with string instruments, so he asked his friend and great cellist, French cellist Pierre Fournier, to help him with the cello part. And you're gonna see that he really used his whole knowledge about the cello. There's so many different sound effects that he uses, and things that just really great cellists like Fournier couldn't have written that part. So the sonata it's in 4 movements. We actually are playing just 3 movements today, the first, second, and fourth movements. They are all in ternary form, meaning the middle part has a different character, a contrasting character of the beginning and the end. They premiered the piece in Paris in 1949. Poulenc at the piano and Fournier at the cello. And one interesting thing about this, very interesting thing about this piece is that the sharing of the musical material, the melodies go back and forth, very well balanced between the cello and the piano. Sometimes very quickly, you're gonna notice that that melody goes back and forth. And one thing that I think that's very interesting too is that the cello part especially is very colorful. The piano part too is a very colorful piece of music. And being a cellist, I want to talk about that cello part. It has so many different sound effects and colors. You're gonna hear, for instance, there are a lot of pizzicatos. Pizzicatos when the cellist is asked to pluck with the finger, of course. There's another effect that's called jeté or ricochet. The cellist is asked to just throw the bow on the string and it bounces back and has this really interesting effect. There are several passages with the use of mute, and that changes the color, especially on the second movement. You're going to notice extended passage in the beginning and the end with the mute, that different character of the sound. Artificial and natural harmonics all over the piece. That's those sounds that are very flute-like and very interesting. There are a few passages of sul ponticello. Sul ponticello is when the string instrument plays, the player plays close to the bridge and gets this very metallic, different kind of sonority from the string instrument. You're going to see that, and especially on the last movement, there are some interesting passages. And glissandi too, several passages where the cellist just slides back and up and down the fingerboard, the instrument, getting some new interesting effects. So please enjoy the Poulenc Sonata for Piano and Cello.
Okay, well, next, it is my pleasure to introduce the composer, Dr. Alan Molyneux. Carlos and I premiered this piece that we're about to hear at the Southern Regional College Music Society conference in February of this year. So it was a pleasure working with Dr. Molyneux. And just a brief introduction of him. He was born in 1950 and received the Bachelor of Music degree from DePaul University, a Master in Music in Composition from Eastman School of Music, and a Doctorate in Composition from Florida State. And he's attended a number of workshops on composition and has also been awarded a number of prizes for his works. One of his works, Trifles, an orchestral work, was the winner of the Tampa Bay Symphony composition contest and was performed 3 times by them. It's been recorded and published, and he has numerous other awards. He taught for 35 years at several universities and colleges, taught music theory, composition, arranging, counterpoint, form and analysis, band, orchestra, and jazz ensemble. And so he's now retired from full-time teaching, which has given him more time to compose. So we will hear from Dr. Alan Molyneux, and he will introduce his work, Music Always Round Me.
Yeah, let me go ahead and say first that when a composer is writing music and then wants to get it performed, there's a number of ways that can go about. And one of those is to respond to what they call a call for scores. A performer or a musical ensemble will ask people from around the world to send their music to them. They'll pick and choose some works they like, and then they'll program it. In this case, a few years ago, there was a vocalist known as a countertenor living on the West Coast who had a call for scores. So one of the things that was interesting about it was that he had an extraordinarily wide range, from the middle of the bass clef to notes above the treble clef. I found a poem to set to music, which was by Walt Whitman, and wrote the piece, sent it in, and I seemed to be very lucky because he chose my song to be one of the works he would do on a recital. The recital never took place. So now I'm left with a song that's got such a wide range that most vocalists will never be able to sing it, let alone want to sing it. So I asked myself, what am I going to do with this work now? And the answer was, you know what? The range of this vocalist matches identically that of a cello. And heck, the cello is a singing instrument, one of the most singable type of sounding instruments there are. So with a few changes, getting rid of the text and changing a few things around to make sure it really fits the cello perfectly, I turned this work into a cello work. And as Adam already told you, it was premiered just last month, very well by both Carlos and Adam. So here is a work for voice, which is now a cello work. As far as I'm concerned, it'll probably wind up being exclusively a cello work in my repertoire from now on. Thanks for listening to my explanation.
Great. It was a lot of fun for Adam and I prepare your piece, Alan. It was super nice. Thanks so much. All right, so the last piece on the program is by French composer Claude Bolling, and it's the last movement of the Suite for Cello and Jazz Piano Trio, written in 1984. Now, Claude Bolling just passed away 3 months ago, in December, at the end of December, at the age of 90. And he was a very prolific composer. He was primarily a jazz musician and a composer for film. So he wrote over 100 film scores. And he started collaborating with classical musicians. So he was one of the first composers who started to do crossover compositions between jazz and the classical world. And in 1975, he collaborated with the great flautist, French flautist, Jean-Pierre Rampal, and wrote this a suite for flute and jazz piano trio. It was hugely successful all over the world for many, many years. He sold millions of copies. So that motivated him to continue that trend, and he wrote other pieces in the same with the same character. Also, he finally, in 1984, he collaborated with the great cellist Yo-Yo Ma and wrote this piece, the suite for cello and jazz piano trio that you're gonna hear now, the last movement. Of course, here we're doing the version just piano and cello, which works perfectly fine without the drums and drum set and the upright bass. This last movement is called the Jazz Fan. It's very fast, lively, and there are some good improvisational moments for the piano. So please enjoy Claude Bolling's suite for cello and piano trio, the Cello Fan.
Well done, guys. That was fantastic. This is
Thank you.
when it's really unfortunate that we can't see or hear the audience, but I'm sure everyone at home is really clapping, and it looks like there's some comments coming into the chat. That was just such a wonderful program and so well played. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and for providing this amazing music, so well performed. You two you play so well together. You have such a great connection and great ensemble. Yeah, it makes me wonder, do you two like together have a favorite piece among those that are on the program? Is there one that is especially fun or rewarding to play? Or maybe it's a different answer for both of you.
Well, I think that the variety of the program is the great thing about it. You know how the different although it's everything 20th century and of course 21st century for Alan's music, it's such a variety of colors and characters. This is we are very proud of the selection, actually, the whole program.
Yeah, it's just a great selection, and really the way everything was ordered was great. The bowling, I mean, you got to put that last, obviously. So that's a great closer. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that's so much fun about it is the interplay between the instruments, and playing solo music is fun, but once you get the collaboration going, to me, it takes the music to another level because you have all that communication back and forth and feed off of each other and the ideas and everything.
Yeah. And I mean, every piece on the program, it seems like, would be a handful for like the individual instrumentalists, but then the ensemble aspect of it, putting that together and coordinating it, it takes a lot of work and artistry. So you did the work and you brought the artistry. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. It was very enjoyable.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. Thanks so much.
I'm going to hand it back over to Chris here.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, bravo. Just beautiful, beautiful playing, and the honor of having one of the composers here with us tonight. That's just phenomenal. So thank you all very much. We are going to, lots of applause coming in. You can probably, I guess you all can see in the chat. Can't wait till we can do this in person. Yes, absolutely. I wish you could hear all the applause, as Jason said. So yeah, maybe we'll just bring you back to the planetarium, just have the audience come in and just applaud for a while. That's what we'll do. We'll start with that. So thank you so very much. We are cognizant of the time tonight at late at night on Zoom on a Friday night. And so we are just going to do one more thing, which just to let everyone know, in normal times, what we would do is we would have a planetarium show in our Delafield Planetarium that is at the observatory. And then we would open up the telescopes for viewing. And since we can't do that, we do have a replacement, and I'm really happy to say that we have one of our students, in fact, Sophia Gooch, who's who will be a senior next year, is our outreach fellow this year. And these programs are in part supported by the Georgia Space Grant Consortium, and she is our Georgia Space Grant Consortium outreach fellow this year. And Sophia is going to do a short planetarium show, just about 10 minutes or so, using Stellarium Web, which is a really cool piece of software that allows us to still do kind of a facsimile of a planetarium show when we are not in the planetarium. So Sophia, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Sure thing. I will try and get the screen share thing right so that I'm showing Stellarium. All right, let's go ahead and full screen this. Awesome, cool. Well, hello everyone. My name is Sophia, as Dr. Dupree said, and I'll be doing the planetarium show tonight. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed that incredible concert. I will try not to underwhelm you following that. And tonight, instead of giving a show about the spring equinox, because Dr. Dupree did a great job explaining earlier, I'm going to do something a bit lighter and show you tonight's sky, which is right here. And I'm going to talk about some of the constellations that will be disappearing quite soon now that winter's ending and spring is beginning. And if you guys will look here, I have Stellarium open and a very nice view of the night sky right now. And it's a little murky. We got some trees in the way, but I have the power to get rid of air pollution and the atmosphere blocking our view. So things are going to look a lot clearer here. And I can also turn on deep sky objects and constellations, because that's what everyone's here for, right? Constellations, you want to see in a planetarium show, pretty pictures, pretty stars. And some of you may know these constellations, or maybe you have no idea at all. And that's perfectly fine, because I'm going to be focusing on one or two tonight, and that is the Pleiades. And hey, then you'll know like one, you can show that off. All right, so right here is the Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters. And this is a star cluster, and it's actually the nearest star cluster to Earth. And each of these stars is over 100 times brighter than our sun, if you have any idea what that might mean. And if you have fantastic eyes, you can go outside and look for yourself and try and see how many you can make out in the cluster. Most people are able to see 6, those are like the brightest, despite there being up to 1,000 stars in the cluster. And that explains the name, the Seven Sisters, right? Makes total sense. Not really, but there is a story I'm going to share with you tonight that might shed some light on this problem of why we have 6 prominent stars, and it's called the Seven Sisters. And this is the Greek myth of the 7 daughters of the Titan Atlas. And some of you may have heard of him. He was forced to hold up the sky on his shoulders. Definitely not the best retirement job. Anyways, he has 7 daughters, and nearby the Pleiades, you can actually see Orion. Whoop. Yes, so this is the constellation of Orion. And according to history, he was a great hunter, and according to himself, the best hunter. And he hunted a ton of crazy monsters, and the Scorpion, which is way down here. We'll keep going. We'll find, there he is. The Scorpion was actually what killed him. So disclaimer, legends may vary. There are so many versions of these stories, but Orion had an ego. That at least is very consistent. Everyone seems to agree on that. We're traveling through the night sky back up here. And this is actually the night sky tonight. So this is what you're seeing if you go outside right now. And okay, so he had an ego. And to keep things family friendly here, I'm just gonna say he wasn't a very good person, bit of a jerk. And I have set the stage here with the 7 sisters and the annoying hunter. So how does this explain the 7th lost star, I hear you ask? Well, once Atlas was stuck holding up the sky, 0 days off, he couldn't be around his daughters or really interfere in their lives. And Orion over here heard about this and decided he'd go over and meet these sisters. Totally innocent intentions, no problem. But without the backing of a Titan, the sisters were at a bit of a disadvantage against a demigod who may have also been a giant, according to some versions. And when Orion comes after them, they do the smart thing and they book it. That's right, guys. The first rule of Greek mythology and the zombie apocalypse is cardio. Unfortunately, as a hunter, Orion was pretty good at cardio, and this chase continued for 7 years. Can anyone imagine running for 7 years straight? No. But eventually, the sisters, who've been asking the gods for help the whole time, apparently Zeus heard them say, "Turn us into birds, please." And when they asked for help, that's how he interpreted it. And so that's exactly what he did. And the 7 sisters became doves, possibly pigeons, and they were placed among the stars. So here they are, the seven doves. But Orion was so persistent and annoying that he is still chasing them in the stars after he died. Hence their position here, forever on the run. So I've definitely explained away all the confusion, right? You know why there's the 7 sisters, but only 6 prominent stars? No, I didn't think so. There's still the missing sister. And I'm going to tell the version where that sister is Merope. And Merope actually translates from Greek to English as face turned. And her story goes that she was trying to have a nice normal life, managed to evade the attention of the gods and all the drama that comes with that. And she married a human. She married King Sisyphus, to be exact, to try and have a nice normal life. Sisyphus might ring a bell to some of you. you know, a Sisyphean task, or the guy who's stuck in the underworld forever pushing up the rock, the boulder. Right, so he was like a cockroach, basically. He would not die. He broke a bunch of rules when he was alive, and he made a lot of gods angry, and Zeus kept trying to send people to take him to the underworld, and twice, not once, twice, this guy talked his way out of it. He is the final boss of car salesmen. And when he was finally caught, he was forced to push the boulder as punishment for his crimes and cheating death. Zeus was feeling very, very petty after that. So, sounds like a great guy, right? Well, Merope, who was married to him, did not think so. She was so disgusted with his actions and straight up embarrassed that she turned her face away in the stars so she couldn't be seen, making her the lost seventh sister. And that's why we call it the Seven Sisters, but you can only see 6 bright ones. Yes, that's true facts. Well, not exactly, but it is the story that we like to tell, and that's the Greek version. There's actually several different versions. Like in the Japanese version, their lore, they actually have they call it Subaru, which means unity, and you may have heard of the brand Subaru, and that's why there's only 6 stars on the brand logo, because they chose to show the 6 most prominent. And here you can see like the sisters. This is Merope. She does not appear to be turning her face away, but that's just because we're really, really close, and Stellarium has the night sky super clear for us. In reality, this one's really hard to make out, and so was Electra. She's also one of the sisters who was like, in some versions, she's said to be the lost sister because she was married to a king and they founded Troy, and then Troy burned down, and she was low-key upset about that. So that's one version, but I prefer the Merope version. And that is the story of the Pleiades, and just like a little bit of the story of Orion, because you can say so much about him. And hopefully you guys know a little bit more tonight now. You can look for these guys in the night sky. Orion's very easy to find with the 3 stars that show his belt. And this is what's in the sky right now tonight. I'll turn on landscape so you can see, because this is the time right now. And so now that it's the spring equinox has passed, it will now become like the spring constellations, the summer constellations. These are more of the winter sky, so they will be disappearing very soon. So get outside and see them while you can. Don't miss this opportunity. Tell your friends what you've learned, share cool stories, freak them out, you know, show off. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Come back more all the time for these open houses. We love to do this and we love to share. And we're so happy that you guys were able to come tonight.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I think you all can see why Sophia is our outreach fellow. That was fantastic. Great storytelling, great view of the night sky. Hopefully we'll get everybody out when the sky is clear to take a look. Thank you again to our amazing performers. Thank you to Sophia for a lovely planetarium show. She does an even better job in the actual planetarium. So as you say, we'll all be back together soon. Please return in April and May. In April, Professor Amy Lovell will be giving a talk, and in May, I will be giving a talk. And so we look forward to seeing you in the coming months. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for being here tonight. Hope to see you soon.